Gem Heist and The Zoo, the third and fourth episodes of the fifth Stephen Bomb, and another pair of episodes where they don't have too much going on an individual level, but really make more of an impact in how they affect the narrative of the Stephen Bomb overall. Hence why I decided to stick them together. It also saved time. The episode starts out with the crystal gems on the Ruby ship trying to decide how it is that they're going to infiltrate this facility and get Greg back out of the human zoo. And I think it was Steven who initially had the idea to go in disguise, but it's Ruby and Sapphire who take it one step further. They defuse from Garnet and decide to go in pretending to be fulfilling their roles for Homeworld. Sapphire, being a high-ranked gem, will be the leader of the group. Ruby and Amethyst will be her guards, and Pearl will be her Pearl. Steven, finally, will be another human for the human zoo. They don't expect Blue Diamond to be there anymore. As long as they play this right, Sapphire is high enough rank that she should be able to get away with this. They should be fine. And it's a good plan, which is why it's shocking how hilariously bad they are at this. I like how it was Ruby and Sapphire, Sapphire primarily, but both of them, I would imagine, to some degree, who came up with this plan, and yet they're the ones who seemed most likely to screw it up. There's a gem there leading the facility, Holly Blue Agate, a type of quartz that is used not as a soldier but to keep soldiers in line, who keeps talking up Blue Diamond because the facility is now under the control of Blue Diamond. And Ruby is so close to losing her cool over hearing how great Blue Diamond is when Blue Diamond was so horrible to her and Sapphire, and it takes Steven calming her down to keep her from just erupting in flames right there and screwing everything up. And then later, when they need a distraction, Ruby makes herself look like just another dumb, disposable Ruby, and Sapphire about freaks out right then and there because she's so hurt to hear Ruby talk about herself that way. But honestly, Pearl's not that much better. Every time they ask her to do a Pearl-related thing, she gets a little bit of attitude, and it's really a miracle that Holly Blue is so up her own butt and Blue Diamond's that she doesn't notice. And I'm going to talk about Holly Blue a little bit more in the next review, and I'm sure I'm going to talk about her later. So I don't want to talk about her too much here, but I do want to point out how interesting it was to see a gem like this. She's still a quartz. We got confirmation from Rebekah Conard that she is intended to be a quartz. Agate IRL is a type of quartz, so it makes sense. But quartz don't seem to be all that high rank, and yet Holly Blue is so full of herself. It's kind of funny. It's also from her that we get the first mention of why it is that this facility is under the control of Blue Diamond now. That after Pink Diamond was killed, Blue had the compassion to take over the facility and keep the zoo going and even employ all of the gems that were left over from Pink Diamond's colony, that being other amethysts and jaspers, which I'll be talking about again in a minute, so I'm just going to drop it there. Alas, they are not able to break into the human zoo in time. Steven is thrown into the human zoo, and to make matters worse, Blue Diamond has come back. Which brings us into the episode The Zoo, where we actually get to see the interior of the zoo. And I got really strong Star Trek The Original Series vibes from this place. It reminded me in particular of an episode called The Apple, where the crew of the Enterprise comes upon a planet with a paradise-like environment and a group of humanoids living in perfect harmony but without any kind of choice. Everything they did was dictated by a computer, and that's exactly what the zoo is like. Now there are some questions I could be asking about the zoo, like how did they manage to maintain the genetic diversity of the humans over thousands of years when the sample size doesn't seem to be that large? I could be wondering how it is that the humans here don't seem to understand bad emotions when someone somewhere had to have died at some point of old age, right? But those things can all be explained away with just a little bit of creative thinking, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much, and instead I want to point out how interesting the characters here were. In this environment where the characters aren't allowed to choose, where theoretically they wouldn't be able to develop too much of a personality, they still did, and I thought that was really cool. But their personalities were still distinct in nuanced ways. They weren't distinct in really obvious ways, so it still worked within the setting. I also like how introducing a new human with free will and the ability to choose into this environment after so many thousands of years is what started to spark them to want more from their lives. That was really cool. It basically made Greg the Captain Kirk of this scenario, to stretch the metaphor probably a little too far. And you could see at the end that the story of these people and this place isn't over. This is the last we see of the Zoomans, they're being called. But you can tell that their story isn't over yet, that there's going to be more to this, because now they know how to choose for themselves, and they know that not all emotions are good emotions, and that's changed them. And they're not going to change back from that. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. This episode introduced so much potential into the future narrative, and I'm psyched. I also love the Amethysts, the Famethyst, as Amethyst comes to call them, and how after Steven and Greg start shit, they're sent in to get the humans back under control. And instead of being violent with them, they're very compassionate with them and talk with them in ways that imply that they actually care about these humans. I really like that. It showed us that these homeworld gems who are often treated badly themselves understand, most likely because that's the case, how to be compassionate with others. And it's clear at the end of this that their story is not over either. These were a couple of great episodes. Again, just more build up for the finale of the Stephen Bomb, but they still had a lot of great stuff in them. And they end on a cliffhanger. One of the Amethysts comes in, grabs Greg and Stephen, recognizing that they're the troublemakers here, and then drags them off, and we don't know where. And if all the episodes hadn't been released all at once on the app, it would have been a really tense moment for roughly 24 hours. Still, I loved them, but as per usual, guys, what did you think of these episodes if you have seen them? Let's get a discussion going in the comments section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.
Come on, give me all you got. I can take it.
Welcome, punch!